You know, for over a century, there's been this incredible story about silver playing out just beneath the surface of our whole financial system. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on what our source material calls a 150-year secret. It's a story of money, of machines, and, yeah, alleged manipulation that might just be reaching its final act. It all kicks off with this number, 37.6 million ounces. That is a truly staggering amount of physical silver. And according to the source, it just vanished. We're talking withdrawn from the registered vaults of the COMEX, that's the main market for metals, in just 47 days. That's almost half of the available public supply gone in the blink of an eye. Now, this is not normal market activity, not even close. So you have to ask the big question, the one that this whole explainer is about. After all these years, is the physical silver market finally actually reaching a breaking point? That huge vault drain, that's where we start. The source basically calls it a modern-day bank run, but not on a bank, on a physical commodity. We are not talking about speculators trading paper back and forth here. We're talking about a global hunt for real physical metal. So why does all this matter so much? Well, it's because silver is in this really unique, kind of contradictory spot in our world. It's living a double life, right? Caught between being actual money and being the one thing our modern machines absolutely cannot live without. And this, right here, illustrates the difference perfectly. See, gold is mostly an asset. Pretty much every ounce of gold ever mined is still out there, just sitting in a vault somewhere. But silver is a critical industrial commodity. It's in your phone, it's in solar panels, it's in electric vehicles, and here's the kicker. It gets used up, consumed, it disappears forever. Now, what's really wild is when you look at this chart, you see that gap. For years, we've been using way more silver than we're pulling out of the ground. The source pegs the annual deficit at about 90 million ounces, and that gap has to be filled by draining the world's existing stockpiles. Stockpiles that, you guessed it, are getting dangerously low. And this brings us to the core paradox, the real head-scratcher. If silver is this essential for everything from green energy to our phones, and we're burning through more than we mine every single year, why on earth hasn't its price reflected that reality for decades? While the source material argues this isn't some accident, it's a deliberate, long-running design. To get our heads around that, we've got to look back. According to the source, what we're witnessing today is really the climax of a story that started almost 150 years ago with something called the Crime of 1873. Just look at this timeline. The source lays out a pretty clear pattern. In 1873, silver gets officially demonetized in the US. Then, in 1965, it's yanked from our coins because the metal itself was worth more than the face value. In 1980, the Hunt brothers made a famous run at taking physical delivery and were shut down hard. And just recently, in 2020, JP Morgan paid a jaw-dropping fine for manipulating these very markets. And this wasn't some quiet backroom deal either. The fight over silver's role as money was so huge, it completely dominated American politics. This famous quote from William Jennings Bryan's 1896 speech, that was the rallying cry for millions who believed that cutting silver out of the monetary system was just a way to hoard wealth and power for the banks. Now, the source has a really interesting take on that whole Hunt brothers story. It suggests they weren't just greedy guys trying to corner the market. No, they believed the dollar was on the verge of collapse, and they were demanding physical silver to protect themselves. And in doing so, they almost pulled the curtain back on how fragile the whole paper market really was. Okay, so if the price has been controlled, how in the world does that actually work? Let's dive into the mechanics of what the source calls the paper silver machine. This breaks it down so simply. It's like a magic trick. You take one single physical ounce of silver sitting in a vault, then you create 100, maybe more, paper claims, things like futures contracts, ETF shares, all supposedly representing that 1 ounce. You flood the market with this basically infinite paper supply, and you can totally overwhelm the real physical demand and control the price. The whole system works like a charm, as long as nobody actually shows up and asks for the real metal. The source points to a few key players who are allegedly running this machine. You've got the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, just think of it as the central bank for all the other central banks, allegedly coordinating everything to keep people's faith in paper money. Then you have the LBMA in London, which is where these massive, opaque bank-to-bank silver trades go down. And finally, the COMEX in New York, which sets the rules for the public market. Rules that, as we've seen, can be changed whenever it's convenient.
Okay, so here's the most crucial point. The ultimate goal here, allegedly, isn't just about banks making a profit. It's way bigger than that. It's about protecting the entire system of paper currencies, like the dollar. See, a skyrocketing silver price is like a fever for the financial system. It signals that paper money is losing its value. So, according to the source, you suppress silver's price to maintain the illusion that everything is stable.
And that brings us right back to where we started, today. Because the argument is that after 150 years, physical reality is finally starting to smash the paper system. And the warning signs? They are flashing bright red. So one of the most critical signals is this weird technical term called backwardation. But in plain English, it's actually pretty simple. It means people are willing to pay more to get physical silver in their hands today than for a promise of silver in the future. That should never happen in a healthy market. It's a huge red flag that physical supply is incredibly tight.
And this backwardation thing isn't happening in a vacuum. The source points to a coordinated global scramble for the physical metal. That COMEX drain we talked about, that's just one piece. We're seeing reports of major banks in South Korea completely halting physical silver sales, new restrictions on buying silver in China, and India is importing absolute record-shattering amounts. This isn't one or two things happening. It's a worldwide pattern. Everyone wants the real thing.
And this is what makes today so different from the past. This isn't just a handful of rich speculators playing a game. The demand is coming from every direction. We're talking about industrial giants who have to get physical silver to build solar panels and EVs, and even sovereign nations who are reportedly cashing in their paper assets for physical reserves. This is big money and big industry, and they're all making their move. This slide really just puts it all in perspective, doesn't it? Back in 1980, it was two brothers demanding their metal. The system was able to just change the rules and shut them down. But today, it's the whole world knocking on the vault door, and you can't just change the rules on everybody.
And that leaves us with the one final question. Our entire modern financial system is built on layers and layers of paper promises. But silver? Silver is a physical reality, and there's only so much of it. So, what happens when those two things finally collide? What happens when there's no metal left to deliver on all those promises? That is the 150-year-old secret that might be about to come out into the open.